Hi everyone, welcome back to Trumpet Tips Tuesday. So today I want to talk a little bit about performing. So I was wondering, how often do you actually perform for your friends or your classmates or even your neighbors or your roommates or even your parents? I think that playing, especially for non-musicians or people that don't play the same instrument as you, can actually be super helpful, and it'll surprise you because these people aren't used to hearing music in the same way that you are. You know, they may be used to hearing different things, different instruments, different kinds of music, and by playing for them and hearing what they think, you might be able to open up a different side of your playing and hear the pieces and work on the pieces that you're working on in a different way than you would have otherwise. So, hope this helps. So for today, I want to talk a little bit about the space that you practice in. I know this may seem like a trivial thing, but actually I think it has a lot of interesting things that you can think about in the future. So for me, I practice in my little corner at home with my stand and my rug and my stool and everything, and it's super cozy. But my space is actually a little echoey, and sometimes I end up performing in spaces that are really, really dry. You know, you have like a black curtain next to you that's like sucking up the sound. So I think about where you practice the most and see if this week you can try practicing in a space that's completely different from your space. And I think this will get us all thinking about our sound in a different way, thinking about the pieces in a different way because we're listening to ourselves in a different way. And then also it prepares you more for gigs in the future when you have no control of the environment that you're going to be in. Hi everyone, welcome back to Trumpet Tips Tuesday. So today let's talk about how you can best optimize your practice session. So this is something that's a lot more than just saving time in the practice room, you know, by cramming as many things as you want into an hour. It's more thinking about how smart you can be with what you're practicing and seeing if there is a way that you can be a little bit more mindful of how you're spending your time. So for this, I really like thinking of two things that I want to practice and seeing if there's a way that I can pick one exercise and work on both of those things at the same time in the exercise. So this could be things like scales or other little exercises. I really like the Clark 2 exercise for this, and so what I actually do with this, because it's a great articulation exercise, I also use it in a way to practice dynamics at the same time. So I'll do half of them soft and half of them loud. So it's a perfect way of practicing two things at the same time and thus optimizing your practice session. Hi everyone, welcome back to Trumpet Tips Tuesday. So today I want to talk really quickly about the power of mental practicing. So I'm sure this is something that we've heard of before, you know, the idea that you can spend time away from the horn, not actually physically playing it, but either fingering through an exercise or singing it or just counting out the notes and rhythms or tapping them out. But the point is that you're not actually physically playing your instrument, and yet you're still actually doing great work on the piece and on the music that you're learning. And they've done studies that actually proves this, and that sometimes mental practicing, the time, you know, spent away from physically playing your instrument, can prove to be more effective than actually physically practicing something. So just something to think about. Really great way of saving your face. It's especially good when you're traveling or you just don't have quite enough time to play. Accuracy and sight reading. And for me, these sort of come into the same conversation a little bit. So accuracy, I'm sure, is everyone's favorite practicing thing. You know, it's so annoying to miss notes, especially when you've been practicing something for a while and like somehow the wrong note comes out and it's just like, oh, so annoying. So I have totally gone down the rabbit hole of practicing accuracy and sight reading. I love sight reading. I've been doing it for years, forcing my students to practice it as well. So I have a couple tips in regards to both of these topics. So for accuracy, I recommend figuring out exactly what your problem is. So maybe you feel like you're always sort of cracking notes in the high register. Maybe you don't really like big jumps. Maybe it's something like, for me, I discovered playing like really loud, repetitive notes was something that I would find myself cracking more often, so I made it a point to practice that. This is my practice journal, and in it I'm tracking everything from metronome markings to style things to things I want to make sure that I hit the next day, so I can flip back and see if I've been doing everything that I want to be practicing. And I'm using it just for technique stuff. I know a lot of people use a practice journal for preparing for auditions or recitals and making sure that you hit every piece and little things about every piece and stuff like that. So it can also be great for that, but I'm just using it for technique stuff. So if you haven't done it yet, try it out. Hi everyone, welcome back to Trumpet Tips Tuesday. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between performing and practicing. So obviously practicing, we know what this is. It's when you're getting things into your fingers, figuring out notes and rhythms, really analyzing yourself and reacting to what you just played and figuring out, exactly how you want things to go. So performing, I think, is a little bit less obvious because this is when you're just doing. You're not thinking, you're not analyzing things, you're just in the moment. And you're practicing a run through of something that you've been doing so many times that it's just completely natural. And so I think this is an interesting distinction because I think we all, as teachers and students can practice performing more because that's what we're actually doing on the gig. How many times do you do a mock run through of something and you stop or you think, oh, wow, I really could have played that one better. But you can't think that on the gig. You have to just completely be in the moment, moving on to the next thing. So it's an interesting thing to practice. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about setting a timer when you practice. Now this is something that I do every day throughout my warm-up and through the whole practice session, whether it's a little exercise or music for a gig. And I really like it because it is just so helpful in so many ways. So let's get into them. So I use a timer because it helps me stay focused. It helps me stay on track with whatever I'm playing. And I know that when it goes off that I'm going to be moving on to the next exercise. So it really helps me stay on track. The other thing that I really like about setting a timer is that after so many in a row, when you've been moving on from exercise to exercise and so on, you actually cover more ground because you're not taking time, in between unless it's a break. So everything is very deliberate. So you get more done in a shorter amount of time. Because it can be overwhelming, when you've just finished something big and you go and sit in the practice session and you're like, I really just don't know what to work on. I just finished this huge project. So for times when I'm a little curious and unsure as to what to work on next, or what I tell my students is develop a list of everything that you are good at and everything that you're not so good at. And there you go. Hope this helps.